My name is Vitali, and I'm responsible for sales and account management here at UXPressia. So basically, what I do in the company, I learn about the needs and pains of our awesome clients. So I'm pretty sure that there are people who already met me before. Most probably, you have seen me in this context when I was just, demonstrating the platform for you and talking about what we do at UXPressia. And yeah, I'm trying to cover all possible time zones, working with Europe, United States, and Australia. And it's pretty crazy, but usually coffee helps here a lot. In my free time, I'm basically a digital nomad traveling all around the world and climbing the mountains in God knows where. And I'm also a musician, so just in case if you people are into heavy and quite intellectual music, I suggest you to check my project OmniBeing at social media. So with this little like self-promotion right from the scratch, I'm pretty sure that a lot of people who are new to the company. So I think we can start with a little introduction first. I want to give you a bit more context of who we are, what we do, so that you can understand what you can learn with UXPressia. So, at the heart of the company is human centric design. Basically, it's something that we're totally obsessed with. And this is something that we really want to bring to the world and kind of help companies to improve and gain that in their CX initiatives. So our key instrument for that is our platform for customer journey mapping, personas, and impact maps. It's called UXPressia, and it's like a single place to store and manage all of your CX assets in a very transparent and organized manner. We'll see today how the platform works, so hopefully you'll get a better understanding of how we can use it as well. And we also have educational part of the company. It's called UXPressia Academy. This is where we create courses in customer journey mapping fundamentals, personas, and also like best practices and tips and tricks that are scattered here and there across the tool. So if someone want to have some sort of education in these disciplines, I'll definitely recommend you to check this out. On top of that, we also have consulting and events where we conduct all possible kinds of workshops, community meetups, webinars where we share the best practices, invite the best speakers around there, and just help you to learn the latest trends in CX disciplines. Basically, this is exactly something that we're doing today. And I am also really curious to learn what sort of audience we have today on this webinar. So I have a question for you. How familiar are you with the journey mapping? I want you to write down the number in the chat. So where one, you're not familiar with the journey mapping topic. Two, you just know the theory. Three, you built a journey map once or twice. Four, you build in journey maps all the time. And five is something else. So write down the answers over here. Okay. All right. Wow, really cool. I'm actually very excited because as far as I can see, there are like the audience today is pretty diverse. There are both like beginners and professionals. So it's really exciting to see that the event is interesting for basically all possible audiences. And I also have a second question for you. Despite the fact that we are related to the insurance case, I also want to learn what is your industry. So write down number one if you're from insurance, and number two if you're from some other industry. You can actually indicate what is your industry in the comments. Okay. Wow. Wow, this is actually pretty unexpected because I can see really a lot of people from different industries, and this is kind of unexpected to be honest, because we were like thinking that, hey, like all the insurance guys will jump on this event today. But anyways, okay, so pretty cool. I think we're now can see what is our audience today. And with this right from the start, I just want to say that when we were designing this event, we really want to benefit all audiences, basically the people with different backgrounds here. So for those who are new to journey mapping, you'll find like a comprehensive overview of how to build journey map from end to end and what to do after and before that. For experts, this will be a highlight of some of the best practices and also new useful techniques to try. If you're from insurance industry, then we'll definitely tell you about some useful insights that we've learned during our research. And for other industries, this will basically be the pattern that you can apply in your projects as well, disregard of your field or specialization. All right. So our plan for today will be as follows. I'll start with webinar and case introduction first. Then we will be building a map in real time and have a look at the basic features that we have in the tool and that you can use in your practice as well. Uh, After that, we'll proceed to more advanced things and something that you can probably use once you already have some sort of foundation for the journey map. Then we will wrap it up with summary as well as Q&A and bonuses. So stay with us till the end because there are a few exciting things that we will uncover at the very end of the webinar. The whole event will take approximately 1 hour, maybe 1 hour and 50 minutes. So we'll see how it goes. All right. So let's actually introduce the case. Let's learn what we have today. So today's case will be built around buying a rideshare car insurance. So if you guys new to that and if you haven't heard what is rideshare insurance, so basically it's a type of insurance that you need when you start working in Uber, for example, and you use your own car for that, so that you're covered in terms of the expenses in case if you trapped in the accident, for example, because your personal insurance unfortunately won't cover the any damages or losses in case if you're using your car for business, for job, basically. So it's basic, but it's scalable. Example, it's practically like a current state journey, and it will be told from the policyholder perspective. So it's the person who is insured. We also decided to go this way because I think it will be easier for us to kind of relate and think from the customer's perspective at this point. But at the same time, we want to mark out that if you're from insurance industry, there could be dozens of cases. And something that we really highly recommend you to do in the very beginning is to clearly define the personas that you have at the start of the journey. Because, yeah, we will be talking from the policyholder perspective, but if you're designing an agent journeys, this will be a completely different thing. You also might want to combine agent journey and the policyholder journey to see how that interaction happens and what sort of insights you'll get from this interaction. So this is for like really common sense approach to define the personas at the start of the journey and also develop the maps that are persona specific so that it has some sort of foundation. It's not just guessing. You're really building the map on the real personas that you have in place. All right. So, and before we jump to the next slide, just a very, very quick stop to have check if you have any questions, just anything that you would like to double check before we move forward. Write down your questions in the chat. Okay, so I said that there are no questions so far, so let's move on and have a look at the source material we have. So what you're seeing right now is basically a Google Doc with a disassembled map. So it's pretty like normal way to start this way. Of course, you can have a lot of data, and you can have like customer reviews, you can have customer interviews, NPS score data, and it's really cool. But sometimes when you just, starting the journey mapping, you can eventually end up with, just a Google Doc where you try to brainstorm all of your ideas and kind of see what sort of data that you can put in the journey map in the very beginning. So, however, in order to facilitate the thing, kind of speed up the workflow, we already have our persona in place. So it's already built, it's in the platform. So please meet Zachary. So let me just open up the persona over here. And this is it. So our persona is Zachary. He is 32 years old. He's from the United States. And basically, Zachary runs his own small business, which gives him just enough money to kind of for living and enjoying life. And he recently started working as an Uber driver 2 or 3 times per week just for the fun of meeting new people. And obviously, in case when Zachary starts working this way, he needs a rideshare insurance so that he is covered in case of something happens and he will get into the accident. So just a few things to highlight here in his persona profile. So here in the background section, I want to put to attention that Zachary, like when it comes to making important decisions, Zachary does some research. He reads reviews and listens to other people's opinions. And in terms of the motivations and the pain points, so he really wants to model and analyze the options and compare pros and cons. And in terms of the pain points, he usually lacks information, lack of information, or hard to find to answer his question is something that can be really a pain point for him. So, why it's really important to put attention to those little details in the journey map? When you don't have a lot of data at the very beginning, but you have your persona profile and you already have some insights on that persona, I strongly recommend you to refer to those info in the persona profile because it can answer certain questions and it can explain the background behind like the bad experience or vice versa, the good experience or moments of truth that Zachary can have on the map. In terms of the journey structure itself, so let's have a look at what we have here in the Google Doc. So in terms of the stages, it's just a rough idea that we have a research stage, purchase, and usage. I have also created like a row plan for the sections that we can start with, something like goals, channels, maybe storyboard, questions, and problems. Again, it can be expanded in future, so we'll see how it go from there. And the journey right now looks quite straightforward, to be honest. There is nothing too complicated in here. At the research stage, Zachary wants to find out what are his what are the offer, what is the offer on the market in terms of rideshare insurance, what other providers offers, and whether there is such type of insurance for his from his current provider. Then on the purchase stage, he basically just wants to get the insurance. And finally, on the usage stage, he wants to start using the updated insurance coverage. It's not very complicated right now, but we will see how all of this will work in the context of the actual map. And from here, let's move on to the platform and actually start building a map. All right, so I'm now in the workspace, so I'm already logged into the platform. And the first thing to start with, I'm obviously already have the project over here with the journey map. I'm sorry, with the persona. The first step here is to select the proper template, and templates are pretty important because it can be kind of hard to getting started where you don't know what sort of structure you should select for the map. So you have a few options over here. You can either start with this blank customer journey template, basically a default, very commonly occurring template in different types of projects. But we also suggest to have a look at other templates that we have in place, because there is an entire template library over here with different cases in different industries. And for our specific case, I will go with this personal insurance customer journey map. It's not exactly the same, but it's kind of identical in terms of the structure, because if we have a look at the preview over here, we'll see that we have like customer goals, the storyboard, also process and channels, experience. So it's kind of corresponds to what I have here in the Google Doc. If we have a look at the sections, and then in terms of the stages, we have research, we have purchase, and we have usage. So once again, it works pretty good with this initial plan that we have in here. So let's use this template and notice that I'm clearing it of all content. So I won't be populating the entire map. I'll just use the layout in order to customize it for our own purposes. All right, so we have this. Oh, actually, it's a different project right now. So let me just get back over here into this CGM walkthrough and do this once again. So serve this little technical issue. Okay, so this will be the right map. And we'll put it into our project over here. Okay, good. So I will delete this persona. We don't need it right now. We need Zachary on the map. And let's just quickly have a look at the template. So, okay, so I forgot to remove the content over here. So I won't be repeating it right now once again. But so let's just have a look at what we have in here. So I will delete a couple of sections just to kind of clear it up a little bit and make it more apparent. Okay, so first off, in terms of the layout, I can see that we have awareness stage and support and also feedback and even prolongation. We don't have those stages in our initial plan. So you have a few options over here. You can either skip them and then populate them at a later stage. Because, yeah, I mean, we don't have any information on the awareness. We're starting with research. But in terms of, insurance, the awareness stage can be pretty important, because there could be problems at touch points probably that can be it should be considered in terms of the in the journey map, in kind of finding out how the experience looks from starting point to the end point. So you can delete those sections if you don't need them, and just create a more compact layout for the map with just 3 stages over here. Or option C, you can hide those sections using the filter view. So basically, I can name it like map like version 1, for example, where we're hiding those feedback, prolongation, and it just shrinks to a more compact version, which is pretty good. So from that point, we have to start populating the data from the Google Doc into the journey map. So honestly, I don't want to bother you too much over here with simply like copying and pasting the information from the Google Doc into the journey map, because it just will take like enormous amount of time. So we will cheat here just a little bit, and I will switch to the semi-completed map where I have already the data from this document transferred into a template, just for the sake of convenience and to speed up our work here just a little bit. And let's switch to this completed map over here. Okay, so again, just a quick stop here, a quick sanity check. Maybe you have any questions or comments, something clear, something that you want to clarify. Okay. Yeah, so there was a question, is it possible to get access to a Google Doc from Anton? So as far as I know, we should have send it to you before the call. I'm not 100% sure. Julia, you can correct me if I'm wrong. But no, we don't have the access to the Google Doc right now. All right, so yeah, probably we'll figure it out. Maybe it can be shared after the call, but right now we'll do it the following way. Okay, so let's have a look at what we have here in this completed template. So first off, the first thing that I really would like to put your attention to. So the research stage is now split into three sub-stages. So you can ask, okay, and how did that happen? The answer is pretty straightforward. So on the research stage, if I have a look at the goal, and if we read the description over here, Zachary wants to find out whether his car insurance provider offers rideshare insurance, maybe find alternative rideshare insurance providers, and after that, understand what new insurance will cost him and choose the offer that will give him the best bang for the buck. Well, honestly, it's kind of hard to fit it in one single stage because what we have here is basically three separate goals, like to find the insurance provider, to compare them, and then to decide eventually which offer is the best. So for that purpose, we use the sub stages to split this into three separate phases and have a more detailed and clear look on what is happening in here, because each one of them can involve different channels. There could be different questions, and there are actually different questions over here coming from Zachary. So our recommendation here is that think like in detail how you can go with structuring the stages in your journey, because sometimes like putting everything in one single stage might not be a good idea because it can eventually lose certain touch points that appear in a smaller steps, smaller chunks if you'd like. And just let's go through the entire structure over here. So we go with research stage where Zachary explores the providers, is getting the quotes, and decides which offer is the best. Notice that we also have this storyboard gallery over here. So it's like an additional visualization to describe the customer actions. So you can add those to your maps as well for the visual purposes, so that the map is a bit easier to read. Then we have the purchase stage where Zachary wants to get the insurance, and also the usage where he basically getting the card and start using the updated insurance coverage. Okay, so we have the idea of the stages, the structure of the map. Let's have a look at the questions section, because you can think like, okay, these are questions. So why is this, we should comment on that on this somehow? But the idea behind questions is that they can really help you to sit in the customer pants and better understand what they really want. For example, when we're designing the goals, it's the customer goals, right? And in order to support them and have a bit more empathizing understanding of what our customers really feel, we should really ask the questions from the customer's perspective. For example, on research stage, Zachary is concerned whether getting the right insurance as an add-on more advantageous than getting it as a standalone coverage. If I can get an add-on from my provider, how long will it take to get an updated card? What the other insurances offer, and is there any special pricing for classic cars? It's like just a single block over here, but it gives us a lot of context of what our personas really care about and how we can approach those different questions in different aspects in different sections of our journey map, whether it can be sold through ideas and opportunities, or maybe it's about the touch points and the channels that are involved here. So it's really something that you should consider throughout the journey once you're designing it, and maybe have a hard time into figuring out like what sort of pain point that you have in here. Next thing would be the process in channel section. So it's already designed over here, and I think we should really comment on what is going on in here. So the process and channels is the section that we designed with the with the idea of omni-channel journey in mind. Because for example, on research stage, so we know that Zachary, if we get back to his persona profile, that he kind of likes to research a lot, and he consults his friends, he is checking the various websites. And this is where appears this certain type of protest that is happening on that stage. So basically, for that purpose, we have plenty of visual assets that you can use. For example, different process types. In our case, in this particular stage, we're using this nonlinear time-based approach to show that Zachary goes into insurer website first, then he uses Google to search other providers, then he's looking for other websites and maybe talk to his colleagues to see, hey, can you recommend me something over here? He also proceeds to the review websites, and it may seem as okay, so we have identified those channels, we have the process, but really important aspect here, and like the point of information, is that here you have two different types of the channels that are involved, because insurer website is like the internal touch point, right? It's something that lies within your control. It's something that you can clearly monitor and influence, which is a big plus, right? But like the colleagues and the review websites, those are indirect channels that are like beyond your current control. And it's something that also has to be considered, because with this detailed illustration of different channels on each stage, you can just have a more detailed and specific ideas of the touch points or channels that has to be addressed here specifically, because something maybe you don't have enough data to understand what happens on those two channels over here. However, the website, it's something that like directly here you can work with this, so you should definitely consider to go ahead and use that sort of touch point as something that you can work with. All right. So before we move on to the next part with problems, experience, and ideas, also a quick sanity check here. Let me check the chat for the questions that we have in here. I don't go into something like very detailed right now, but let me just look through. Maybe, yeah, if you have any questions, feel free to write them down in the chat. Okay. All right. So I saw there is a question about insurance claim. It's kind of and about the template for that. So yeah, the question from Mark: how do you manage multiple personas and multiple shared and unshared journeys? We will get into it a bit later. This is something that we are going to cover. And there's also a question from Matt here regarding the template regarding the persona and in insurance claim. So most of the templates seem to be for the buying journey, but not the service journey. To be completely transparent, I'm not remember exactly whether we have some the template of that kind. I mean, I'll just have to double check it after the call, but at least you have the templates that you can use as a starting point, and then you can customize it a bit for the specific case, because despite the fact that the content will be different, the structure and the layout can correspond to one another. So this is something that has to be considered here. All right, so let's move on and have a look at the following. So right now I was building the journey map all alone, right? But I'm pretty sure that most of you people are working in teams, and there could be either your teammates with whom you can collaborate on the map, or perhaps there is an entire department where you want to collaborate on map in real time and see what sorts of insights you can get in there in order to improve maybe certain touch points or discover certain pain problems and pain points. So for that purpose, I would love to first off add a couple of sections over here that we will utilize for the collaboration purposes. So there will be two of them. First off, I would like to use the funnel section. So the funnel section is the one that allows me to pull data from Google Analytics and Mixpanel. So basically, it's going to be our source of live data. And then I also want to use the Embed code section. So this one is pretty diverse because with Embed code, you can pull the data from other third-party platforms. There are multiple applications here. It can be like prototyping tools, for example, Figma or InVision. It can be used in the context of, maybe some YouTube videos, some media that you want to connect to the map. And so I don't have data for these tools right now, but I have a colleague who actually has the data over here. So just a quick overview of how we can invite the people to the project. So you can either have them as contributors on the entire workspace, or you can share single projects for that purpose. So be aware that here on the action columns, you can share individual projects with people by inviting them by email or giving them a direct access link. So there are a couple of options here. So I already have my colleague Tanya in the workspace, so I won't be inviting her from scratch, but I will tag her in the comments and ask her to add certain data over here. I'll explain in just a couple of minutes what sort of data this will be. So let me tag Tanya and ask her to help us with web analytics data. And also over here, all right. And there we go to the purchase stage to buying car insurance. I'll ask for some NPS data that is needed over here. Okay, so we'll wait until Tanya will populate this data on the journey map. So we will be working in parallel right now. I will be working with you team on the problems and experience, while Tanya will be working on the populating the data that I have requested into the journey map, and we will get back to this into just a couple of minutes. Okay, so now let's move on to the interactive part. So I'd like to start with the experience section over here. And the experience section is very peculiar because it's something that you immediately put attention when you see the journey map for the first time. And it's basically the most direct way to visualize the experience of your customers that are happening on different stages of the journey. And there are also different ways how you can utilize it. Our recommendation here is to figure out the message that you want to bring with this section, with this experience graph. For example, you have a net promoter score and you want to connect this net promoter score to the, to the grades, to the assessments that you have on different stages of the journey. All right. So in case if you're using for example, 1 to 10 system to evaluate your service, you can add 10 experience line over here, and each one will reflect the net promoter score that you will get from your customers, right? And you can now populate it independently on each of the stages. Option 2, you can go with something very simple, basic. So in our case, in this particular example, I'm basically going with only 3 experience lines, which is, basically a positive experience on the top, the neutral experience here in the middle, and negative experience here on the bottom. Again, you can start with a simple right now, but then you can expand it into something more complex as you will be receiving more data and keeping your journey alive. So with this, let's actually figure out what is Zachary experience. So I will just drag the questions and also the goals to see in more detail at what is happening over here. and we will combine, we'll like relate the goals with the problems in order to understand how the experience now looks like. So let's figure out research stage exploring providers. Zachary's goal here is to find out whether his car insurance provider offers rideshare insurance and also find alternative rideshare insurance providers. The problem here, however, is that there is a little info about rideshare insurance as an add-on on the websites. So if we go into clicking this, emoticon circle, we can select some of the emotions over here. So write down a couple of ideas of how would you approach this particular stage and how would you depict this experience. So any suggestions for this stage? Okay. Don't be shy, guys. Write down the answers here in the chat. Frustrated. Okay, yeah, we can start with frustrated. Just in case if you're like not fighting the emotion right from the scratch, you can select just the smiley that, think works great in this context and rename it into frustrated. And then we will lower it down to the negative experience. And then let's probably proceed to getting the quotes. So Zachary wants to understand what are the what a new insurance will cost him. However, here he has the problem that he has to wait for too long for the answer in the chat. So again, any ideas, sadness, annoyed? Yeah, okay, we can go with this for sure. And here's something that I encourage you to notice. So we have a goal, understand what a new insurance will cost him. However, we also have the problem that he has to wait for too long for the answer in the live chat. And here on the button, we actually have these ideas tab. So we can start populate the ideas into the map right from the scratch. So any suggestions on what we can do in order to kind of facilitate his pain point and speed up the long waiting time in the chat? Real-time quotes. Okay, yeah, let's actually populate it over here. Callback option. So I'll just copy your answers and paste them in the document. Callback option. All right, great. So anything else? Any other ideas? Chatbot. Yeah, nice, really nice comment from Bonnie, because when we were researching that matter with our clients. So we've noticed that many insurance companies these days, they're moving towards digitalization and just delivering the information and the answers to the clients in the fastest manner possible. And chatbot seems really a cool idea because it's modern, it works really great together with the live support. It's even something that we use ourselves in our own projects, in our own customer service, to combine the chatbots with the real agents, and that this can work together. Okay, good. And then we move on to the decision stage. So at first glance, there are no problems over here. And the goal here is basically to choose the offer that, will be best from all that he has checked. But at the same time, if we have a look at the questions, and we can see that how are the coverages offered by other insurance different from the one offered by my current insurer. And it's not like highlighted as a direct problem over here, but I would anyway approach this and ideate some of the opportunities that can be used over here. And for that purpose, let's actually use the Embed code section. So I will go into my document back again. And here on the bottom, I have a resource, just some media that we can, some best practices, some documents that we can utilize over here. For example, I have this video from Allstate on how like 3 tips for compare car insurance rates. So as you can see, this is basically a YouTube video. But it's a good idea if you have your own video in the company to actually include it into the journey map to see, hey, our client has a questions here. Why don't we answer them with a video on the landing page, on the website page, right? So we'll do exactly the same and we'll embed the video from the YouTube. So I'm just clicking on share over here. I'm going into embed. I'm copying this piece of code over here, getting back to our journey map. I'm clicking on, just pasting the information over here. Oh, actually, sorry, it's a different section. Let's go into the embed code. And now the YouTube video appears directly on the map and we can view it straight from here, which is, pretty handy. And this is just one of the ways how embed code can be used. If we have a look at the second stage, which is the purchasing, where Zachary wants to buy a car insurance, we already can see that Tanya, our colleague who has helped me with the comments, she actually populated the real net promoter score data that we collect with our customers. So basically, in this case, we're using the Airtable. Just in case if you guys don't know, Airtable is kind of like Google spreadsheets on steroids. It's like super powerful tool that we utilize a lot in our own business. And this is the real net promoter score data. It's updated on the go as we receive the answers, and now it's connected to the actual journey. So in case if you have any new answers over here, they will appear instantaneously on the map. And this is exactly the way how this live data can be connected in relation to the stages and to the channels. And by analyzing this data, for example, here you have the sadness because the net promoter score really sucks at this point. So this is something that we should definitely address and have a look because we don't perform really well here. It's something that has to be considered. Furthermore, so if we get back to the funnel section, so let me probably reload the page really quickly because it seems that it's not here yet. Yeah, so the funnel section, it's also like pretty interesting, something that we encourage you to do. So remember when we were looking at the like research and exploring provider stage. So I've been talking about the insurer website channel that is within your control zone. It's something that you can address and actually monitor. So what Tanya did for us, she pulled the live data from Google Analytics on how many how much time Zachary spent on the website page, for example, a landing with information on rideshare car insurance. And this way we can monitor in real time that, for example, okay, he has spent 10 seconds over here. Has he proceeded to getting the quote section, or he didn't find any information over here that can help him to proceed to the next stage? And this is another way how this live data can be utilized across the journey. So basically, by like distributing the funnel, the web analytics data from website to getting the quote to maybe purchasing page, if you have it on your website, you can see in real time how this interaction happens, and this data can give you a lot of hints and insights on what really happens with the persona throughout the journey. So just be aware of that and don't be afraid to kind of experiment and see how it can fit your particular project or task. All right. So once again, a quick stop here. Any questions, anything that you would like to comment on? So yeah, there was a question regarding the Adobe analytics data. So unfortunately, right now we don't have integration for Adobe Analytics, but just in case, I haven't used it personally, but just in case, if it supports live embedding, so through iframe, basically the same way how we used to populate the video over here and populate the NPS score results, then I suggest that you can try to use it in the journey as well. And so anything else? Okay, so that was a question regarding the recording. Yes, there will be a recording of this presentation. So, okay, so let's actually move on. Anyways, the questions can be answered will be answered in the end of the webinar, so that we can just move on and have a look at a couple of other things that we have in here. All right, so right now we have like more or less completed map. And so I think it's actually something that you can already like present to your team, something that you can at least show to see how to move forward and how to further populate the data. So something that you should really take into consideration is that when you're presenting the map to, for example, board of directors, right? They might want to see a very specific set of information, a very specific set of data on the map. I mean, yeah, we have like this Google Analytics data and the Embed code, but probably they want to focus on more like problems and ideas and see this experience line over here. So for that purpose, you can create these custom views that I have shown you previously. So basically, I'm going into Zachary view over here, and I'm hiding funnel and embed code section. We can actually, save it even as a new view if necessary, but no, I actually have a lot of stuff here. So let's get back to Zachary view. So we're hiding these two panels. I'm naming it like no data or no live data, just for my own convenience. Okay, so I have a limitation here. So let's remain it as no life. I'm saving that view. And now the map shrinks to a more compact version. And with this in mind, you have a few options how we can further use it. So you can either go with the presentation mode, which will basically give you this bird eye overview of the entire artifact, so you can just clearly see all the stages. And it's really convenient to use it in online call, for example, when you want to present the map to the board of directors and just go step by step through all the stages and the swim lanes that you have here. Option B, you can export the map. And once again, something that we observe quite often within the insurance companies is that they're, I would say, they're a little bit old school, and they sometimes want to present the map in more traditional format, like PDF file or PowerPoint or PNG image. So for that purposes, we have plenty of expert options, including PDF. And you can also include the branding. So basically, you can put the logo on the map so that your boss will be happy. Says, like, hey, it looks really nice and neat in terms of the design. So once it's exported, you'll have this like nice and beautiful PDF file. So let's just wait for a second until it's loading. And something that you should notice is that like the quality of the text and the images here is pretty good, and you can actually print it out in large format. I meant, like, to be completely transparent, I'm not sure when we will return to offices next time, but still just be aware of that opportunity. Okay, so we've done with exporting. We already have, the journey map in place. It's pretty much populated. You can surely add more sections in the futures and kind of keep it alive. But this is definitely not all that you can do, because we've built this journey from the perspective of Zachary, of only one persona. But as I had mentioned in the very beginning, there could be other scenarios, right? You could have different personas. Maybe you want to involve the agent in the journey and see how they interact with you, with your customer or buyer persona. And you like at a certain point, this is a good start, but at a certain point, you might want to see how this works from the perspective of other personas, of other clients that you have in here. And for that purpose, you can utilize multiple personas on the map. So here on the left, I will expand this tab. I have a little secret. So I actually have a plenty of other personas apart from Zachary. Their journeys are already completed, so we won't be going into like full details over here. But here's the idea. So I have this new family who is buying a new insurance, and they going basically through the same steps. They have the same swim lanes, but the content is totally different. So for that purpose, to visualize that, I will toggle this all personas view that I have in place, and I will unfold this young family who is buying a new insurance. And what happens right now, we have practically the same map, but now with one more persona over here. And each stage here, each swim lane is now personalized. So we have individual storyboard. We have individual process and channels that can be viewed from different angles. The problems, the questions, and even the ideas and opportunities can be diversified at this point. And it's not really limited in the number of personas. If you'd like to add one more persona over here and have even more encompassing journey, so let's view how it looks from the presentation mode over here. So as you can see, the map turns this way into like a really extensive documents with a lot of data, a lot of insights, because you can not only view the journey from different angles, you can actually compare how similar or different the experience of your personas looks like in this multi-persona experience section. Basically, overlapping emotional graphs that you can see how they work together in parallel. And all of that just drastically expands the way how you can work with the platform and how you can get insights from the tool, because by having the ability to toggle the personas on the go, to view like the journey from different lenses, it just gives you a lot of perspective on what is going on. And not only that, I mean, we viewed the customer personas here, right? But we can also have an agent. And I have mentioned in the very beginning that agent journey is a completely different beast. There's like different stages, different channels involved. However, at certain point, these journeys can be combined, right? And for that purpose, you can use the personas interaction section, where basically you're building something like a service blueprint within the journey map. So in this particular example, we have one more persona. It's Sarah. She's switching insurances. It's kind of the same where she goes through exploring the providers, she contacting the insurer, she discusses the details and signing the contract. But on top of that, there are really a lot of things happening, because she can consult family and friends. And hey, this is our insurance agent over here who interacts with Sarah and also with the call center. So we involve something like front stage and backstage actors into our journey map to visualize how their interaction can influence the experience. And this opens even more possibilities for the tool, because with this in mind, you can build, more complex, more, how to say, tree-like journey maps showing different scenarios, showing how your actors interact with one another and creating those connections in a very simple and clear manner. And it just adds an additional layer to move forward with the journey and keep it alive and viewed from the other angles. Okay, so we're gradually moving to an end, and we've checked pretty much everything that I personally wanted to cover today and what we were planning to do. And with this in mind, let's have a look at a little summary to kind of wrap up everything that we have discussed and give you a few insights to how to use it in your own experience. So, first off, look at the journey map from the different angles and consider different types of personas. So, in the context of multi-personal journey, this is really crucial to have a different look on the journey and understand how certain touch points of your business or channels work for those different types of personas, because their experience can be completely different. And by considering them, you can just have a lot of, you can create more empathizing and human centric culture. So the key moments of truth for this insurance specifically are its policy selection and acquisition. So we haven't covered like underwriting and claim stages, but those are something that has to be considered. We've started with this basic layout, right? But again, for other personas, those stages can be involved and you really should put attention to them. And also, customer pains in insurance, and actually not only in insurance, are often caused by the poor communication. And this is where questions come in handy, because by asking questions from our clients' perspectives, we basically think as they are and we really empathize with them. It's something that we sometimes really forget to do, and we highly encourage you to populate the questions of your customers into the journey map in order to make sure that you make them really inclusive and empathizing. So next thing is be aware of platform capabilities. At the very beginning, you can tend to lock yourself within the text sections only, and it's totally fine. It's something that all of us usually start, but we recommend and encourage you to explore and experiment. UXPressia offers really vast functionality, and we really recommend you to look into all features like multiple personas, views, embed code to see how the journey can be enriched. Also, collaborate and share your work with the teammates. So I have shown you only like a tiny bit of collaboration, the comments and the ability to add, to work on the map in real time. So also don't be afraid to work with your teammates and with your departments, because eventually in that collaboration you come up with the better solutions and better ideas to improve your customer journeys. And finally, connect live data, iterate, and keep your artifacts alive. So this one again comes to the platform functionality and something on top of the static content that you can have in here. So by connecting those live data sources, your journey maps turns into living documents. And by tracking that in real time, you can just have a lot more insights in comparison with some static Google file that I have started in the very beginning. So this is something that we definitely recommend you to consider and try out yourself. So a little bonus, we will be giving away a coupon for 1 month of UXPressia platform to test out everything that you have seen today completely for free. And the template that we have created today will be added to our template library. So you will be able to try it out yourself and see all the little details that I might have skipped today. Sorry me for that if it did happen. But anyways, there will be a possibility for you to try everything that you have seen today yourself.